Ladies and gentlemen, at the time of recording, it's Heritage Day, and the way that we generally tend to celebrate Heritage Day in South Africa is by crying racism. Now, before we get on to the main news stories, if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends on WhatsApp. And if you'd really like to support the work I do here, as per usual, you can buy me a coffee. The link is in the description box below. So, first on to the first story, before we get on to the NHI, that is. And this is the story that News24 published an article around a master braaier in Cape Town, where he excluded people of colour from getting a free boerie roll. Yep, a free boerie roll. Now, News24 were only too happy to have seen an allegation on Twitter that basically alleged racism in the Western Cape. And as per usual, they were like, yeah, whitey, racist, yeah. Well, they'll get us some clicks. Now, you see, what typically tended to happen after the allegation of racism circulated is rather than have any form of discovery, any form of investigation, everybody was like, well, they said it on Twitter, must be true. And so the National Coloured Congress came out and said, yeah, this shows you just how deeply disgusting racism is against our people. The ANC at least had some brains and said they noted the allegation of racism, and then went on to basically say, yeah, but you know, Western Cape's pretty racist anyway, so might be true. Now, you see, what was the actual allegation of racism? Well, the allegation of racism was that an individual, Jan, who was handing out some free booty rolls on behalf of food lovers, basically didn't give them to people of colour. He only gave them to white people. Now, immediately after publishing the article, food lovers came out and said, yeah, we're not sure that that's how it went down. And so food lovers actually had to release the video. You know, the video footage that everybody says they saw.
That's the video. Follow him. That's it.
Now, the actual allegation of racism was after one individual stood there waiting for his free boerie roll, and then apparently didn't get it, only he did. And this may all seem really petty, but you see, it wasn't petty enough, was it? Because you see, News24 saw a potential opportunity to cry racism, and all they did is publish the article on front page news. Racism in the Western Cape, how dare you? Food lovers came out and said this was basically an uncharitable interpretation. I wouldn't call it that. I'd call it flat out deliberate lies in order to have a form of clickbait. And as we've previously discussed on previous videos, you could argue that this is, again, a degree of political activism, because nothing sells like racism. Why I say nothing sells like racism and that it was lies is because the video has come out showing, yes, the individual got their boerie roll, and no, there was no allegations. And so News24 had to publish a correction, going, the individual's now been cleared of racism. Apparently, the article that we published was false. Only it didn't appear on the front page of News24, did it? No, it was in a small little dingy little section somewhere, whereas the original allegation of racism, yeah, was front page, was right there at the top. And it's interesting because you see IOL jumped on board and also said, yeah, racism. And where's the retraction from IOL? Remember that IOL was also the same parties that allegedly doctored some videos of Ronaldo Gous and then argued racism. As we have previously said, you don't hate the media enough, and the media doesn't get enough cred for lying. Because you see, News24 was starting to be called out for their lies on the article. And so News24 did the logical thing. They shut down comments on the article. Yep, can't comment, can't engage with the article. Don't like being called liars, do they? Like calling everybody else racists, but they don't like getting called liars. See how this goes. So, on to the main news story, and that's the news story of NHI. And as I said to you yesterday, I've got a lot to say on NHI, because a lot has been happening. Now, for those of you who watch my videos, you may recall that Aaron, also known as Moron, came out and basically said, I'll do what I want and business can't stop me. Then all of business started to moan at him, specifically the business forum that Ramaphosa tends to engage with, Business Unity South Africa, and Aaron said, you guys are picking on me, fine, you can engage with the president because you don't like me. And yes, that may seem flippant, but it was that petty. Now, I also said to you yesterday that the GNU was setting up a technical committee, which is a committee that would basically look at the technicalities of law, any arguments or disputes between them, and see if they could come up with a amicable solution. But this only works when people are trying to be amicable. which Aaron isn't, which actually led the president to have a private, long discussion with Aaron, basically telling him, shut up, stay in your lane, don't cause waves. And Ramaphosa had to go out and engage the actual business forums himself. But he did say, prior to engaging in the actual business forum discussions, don't come to me with criticisms and problems, come to me with solutions. Now, you see, the biggest problem that they have when it comes through to the problem of NHI is basically the cost. Because you see, the cost is so prohibitively high, it would require tax hikes to the hill. The other problem with NHI is that we would effectively ban the private medical sector, which basically means that you would have a banning, or if you would, a limitation on private medical aids, which, let's face it, most people feel very deeply attached to. So, what are those solutions? Well, a big one has been on the table for a very long time, following a review done in the medical industry way back when, and it is what is typically referred to as low-cost medical solutions, which the medical regulator said they don't want because it would undermine the future NHR. It's nothing like having a solution to a problem that you caused, but then you basically won't allow the alternative solutions while saying, why don't you give me solutions? But when they do, you say, yeah, but it will stop the solution that we want to impose. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either. So where does that leave Discovery, the largest medical aid contributor in the country? Well, Adrian Gore came out and basically said that he was confident that the government and business could find a solution to the impasse that they currently find themselves in. The impasse, specifically that NHI was, and I quote, unaffordable and unconstitutional, could be, according to Adrian, obtained through political negotiations rather than lawfare. And I, for one, say, no, it can't. You're negotiating with communists. How many times do I have to tell you this? Communists don't negotiate in good faith. Now, Adrian says that in the short term, nothing's happening. And he's right. Nothing has happened. Got signed, nothing's happened since then. We don't have the budget for it. In fact, we have nothing for it. And so Adrian says in the short term, nothing to worry about, guys, just business as usual. In the medium to long term, Adrian does say, they're going to have to find a solution to all the impasses. So what exactly would that solution look like? Well, according to Adrian Gore, he's currently very bullish on South Africa. He says the GNU is being given a great opportunity to drive economic change. And economic change is what the NHI will need. But Adrian says it's not just about economic change. It's also around the narrative of the country. Because you see, everybody loves to bash their country. And that's true. Everybody loves to hate on South Africa, even when it's not warranted. Quite often they will overlook the problems in other countries, like Britain, and just say, yeah, but at least it's not South Africa. And that inevitably is really short-sighted. I mean, I can see it in the comment sections myself. I can see the individual that says, food in South Africa is so terribly expensive, forgetting that it costs like £14, that's nearly 300 Rand for a steak in the United Kingdom. I mean, food in the United Kingdom is terribly expensive. And most of it is basically pre-packed meals that have poison in them. I mean, I wouldn't recommend eating half this stuff. Adrian Gore says that there is economic benefits occurring in the country right now, notably caused by the lack of load shedding. He highlights that the JSE is at an all-time high and that South Africa's bond yields have never been higher. All of these are things I covered in the video yesterday. South Africa's economy is experiencing a rebound. The economic rebound spells a 2 to 3% economic growth. For NHI to cover the basic services would require a growth rate of 7.2% over the next 20 years. For NHI to cover advanced treatment would require an economic growth rate of 10.2% over the next 20 years. The alternative is that we would have to increase personal income tax by 31% or VAT by 6.5%, which would be a massive increase to the poor. So what's the actual inevitable outcome? The inevitable outcome is South Africa is too small a country to afford an NHI. Far bigger countries that have far lower unemployment rates, such as the United Kingdom, can't afford it themselves. It's an unattainable goal. But don't let economics ever stop a good communist from coming harder. And as this all comes on the back that the first NHI-ready health facility is now available in Gauteng. The healthcare facility in Gauteng is now open, having been completely redone and refitted. And let's face it, all eyes will now be on that health facility in Gauteng in order to assess what a potential future NHI hospital may look like. Now, the hospital has some lofty aims. They've completely retrofitted everything, and they say they want to be a hospital for future developments and scientific discoveries and so forth and so forth. But having seen things like Tembisa, I'm not holding out any hope. We all see how the script goes, and we've all seen how the script inevitably falls in Gauteng specifically. But in any case, We're all going to be watching eagerly, and we're all going to see if it fails, which many of us predict that it will. But that's just my thoughts. You can let me know what you think in the comment section below. Until next time, bye.